News Day continues here on One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. With the closure of cinemas amid the pandemic, some film buffs are turning to online streaming sites to get their movie fix. But others are resorting to illegal methods just to watch their favorite shows. What is the government planning to do about it? Faith Del Mundo tells us in this report.
The House of Representatives Special Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts finally tackled the issue of online piracy, which is being touted as the reason behind the Metro Manila Film Festival suffering a net loss during its first digital-only screening in 2020. Pangasinan 4th District Representative and Committee Chairman Christopher De Venecia said online piracy is prevalent among social media apps and other streaming platforms. Online pirates allegedly stream, purchase content, and share it via video conferencing apps to other viewers for a fraction of the original price. Others supposedly use the same method to stream illegally downloaded content.
This MMFF, of which most of the piracy happened through Facebook, and it's only Facebook that can do the takedown for that. And then some were happening through YouTube and Google, and they can also do their own takedown.
Recall that last year's MMFF screenings only recorded 19 million pesos in sales. That's less than the 2% of the revenue collected by the festival in 2019. For its part, the PNP fully supports the move to trace those behind online piracy and expects full cooperation from affected parties.
Private sectors natin, sir, should take advantage ng mga expertise ng mga technical persons sa law enforcement like the NBI, the PNP. Yung mga technical persons po natin, sir, are trained, foreign trained pa po. Parang tradecraft po kasi itong cyber investigation. We can help talaga, I think, during the discussion. Pagka mga cyber case, encourage, sir, yung mga lalo na dito sa online piracy, sir, yung mga producers natin na ituloy, sir, yung complaint. And i-assist namin sila, sir, na I think kung itutuloy lang nila, sir, yung kaso, I think magpa-progress or magpa-prosper po sa court.
De Venecia added that having an anti-piracy software can help detect pirated films online. The House Committee is expected to continue discussions about this issue in the coming weeks. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
Former President Erap Estrada's condition is now steadily improving. That's according to the latest medical bulletin posted by his son, former Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Estrada said doctors are now starting to wean the former chief executive of ventilator support as his other organ functions remain stable. The Estrada family continues to ask for prayers for his full recovery. Richard Cambe, former Chief of Staff of Senator Bong Revilla, has died inside the Bilibid while serving his sentence for plunder. Recall that Cambe was convicted in the same case where his former boss was acquitted by the Sandigan Bayan in 2018. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said Cambe suffered a stroke and was taken to the Hospital ng Muntinlupa where he eventually died. The Sandigan convicted Kambe and pork barrel scam mastermind Janet Lim Napoles and sentenced them to reclusion perpetua or up to 40 years of imprisonment. Revilla walked after the court said his guilt was not proven beyond reasonable doubt. Senator Hontiveros has expressed outrage over reports of an armed Chinese boat driving away a Filipino TV crew at the West Philippine Sea.
I support the filing of a diplomatic protest to China.
In a statement, Hontiveros said the latest provocation only proves that China is desperately resorting to the threat of using deadly force in the territorial dispute. An ABS-CBN crew was supposed to visit the Ayungin Shoal together with local fishermen when they were chased by at least 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships. The ABS-CBN news team reported that the Type 22 Hubei boats were armed with missiles. The team's reporter added that the Chinese Coast Guard ship radioed in and asked them what they were doing in the area, which is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Hontiveros called on the Malacanang to assert the country's sovereign rights in the disputed waters. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced that he discussed concerns on China's presence at the West Philippine Sea with Philippines' Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin. They also discussed efforts to combat anti-Asian hate and violence in the U.S. Speaking of the U.S., President Joe Biden has announced the implementation of new measures to tackle gun violence in the country. These include ordering the Justice Department to crack down on self-assembled ghost guns and stabilizing braces, which turn pistols into rifles. Biden said he will also ask the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to release an annual report on firearms trafficking in the United States to adopt red flag laws. But just hours after the event, at least one person has died when a gunman opened fire at a business central in Texas. The shooting unfolded at Kent Moore Cabinets in Bryan, Texas, with the suspect believed to be an employee of the business.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let me say it again. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. There are phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about. But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
The World Health Organization maintains that the benefits of AstraZeneca's vaccine far outweighs its risks. But the drama continues with concerns over rare side effects of blood clots and its supposed outdated trial data. Bloomberg's Susie Ring reports on how these issues could impact global vaccination efforts and prolong the pandemic.
Why should we be so concerned about the fate of the Astra vaccine, given we have at least 5 other vaccines available?
Thank you, Francine. Well, I think the most important thing that people sometimes forget with all of this drama with the AstraZeneca vaccine is that this is going to be the vaccine that most of the world are going to take because they've made such a commitment to do it not for profit. And because it's so easily stored and transported, it's going to be the vaccine that's going to low and middle income countries mainly. So when we have this continued issues with it, when we have these continued kind of fueling of hesitancy, that could have a profound effect on those countries who will have little other option. And then that, in turn, could also have an effect on ending the pandemic.
So, Susie, I have to say the recent, blood clotting issue is so confusing, and the EU can't even have a united front in saying, what's risky and what's not. Will it impact vaccine take-up?
I think that's been one of the problems all along with this, because we have issues that come up with drugs all the time, of course, but we don't have the world watching and the scrutiny on this scale. So the blood clot issue, the EU has come out saying that it's a rare side effect. The label is going to be updated to reflect that. Obviously, as you say, the UK has decided to, for under 30s, offer an alternative vaccine. I think it's just further kind of muddying it in the public perception, and the most important thing that's come out of all of this is communication. This is a very rare side effect. It hopefully shouldn't fuel hesitancy. However, communication is the key here, and showing a united front, people being on the same page to offer the same messages to reassure the public, is the thing that's been missing in a lot of this and is the most important overriding factor.
So, Susie, what does this all mean for a possible U.S. emergency authorization of the vaccine?
So this is the next key step for AstraZeneca. They said that they're going to file for an emergency use authorization in the first half of this month, but obviously that's been muddied slightly by the trial results last week when they came out with one number and then criticised by their safety monitoring board, and a couple of days later had to update that figure. The important thing about this is that actually for US use, the US is so far ahead in its rollout program, it may not make a huge difference for US citizens themselves, but obviously the world takes the lead from the FDA often, and low and middle income countries are going to be looking for that authorization to give that kind of extra seal of approval to the vaccine. So we're now in a situation where, because of all of the narrative that's been coming out, because of the incredible mix of data sets that Astra has, it's just thrown a few questions up in the air as to whether they would secure that and how quickly they can secure that at this point.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 2:15 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.